This is the Risk Grandnovice Series, where I, a Grandmaster on the free-for-all ladder, share a lower-ranked game. From this, hopefully more people will see the game of Risk, newer players can improve their play, and maybe we'll get to see something crazy. The main thing you should take from this is you don't have to be number one to have fun, so get out there and play some Risk and have some fun. So, if you are new here, you have never seen one of these videos, the first thing I do is I roll myself down and get myself out of the game as soon as possible. I want to see the game of Risk, how it's played at the lower levels. When you watch other individuals play, yeah, think and roll at the same time. When you watch other individuals play, you're often watching the highest levels. You're getting the perspective of the player playing against others at the highest level, whether they're playing against newer players or they're playing against more experienced players. We don't really get to see the game, how it is played by people who are new to the game against people who are new to the game. And seeing how those games play out, I think, is going to be very helpful in helping newer players understand how they are playing and where they can improve from there against other players who are like them. So, looking at this game here, the blue player has moved. Well, I guess right now, so the blue player has moved up and around. Looks like they are going to be moving towards taking Australia. But I think real quick, we're gonna go over the settings. So this is the classic map, World Domination. Turn timer is 60 seconds, so you're gonna have to be a little bit speedy here. Very actionable when it's your turn. You need to be doing things. You don't have that much time. It is ranked. Difficulty is medium, and we do have one bot in this game. The card bonus is fixed. This is balanced blitz. This is open from novice to intermediate. Alliances are on, so maybe we'll see some coordination here. Inactivity behavior is neutral. So if you leave the game, your bot is not going to do anything. Then after 10 minutes, it is going to surrender. So here we are. I think I was off to an alliance. The blue player lining up for Australia. We didn't see what the orange player did for their turn. Take a look. Looks like they attacked in South America. So maybe we're going to see contention right here for South America between the orange player and the red player. The pink bot has, looks like, lines to start working towards North America. And the white player, this is their chance to establish themselves somewhere on the map, whether they want to start going for North America, Europe, or Africa. They're actually placing troops in multiple positions, so perhaps they have not yet decided and they want to leave their options open. I think they have a great play for Europe because the bot is largely in North America. So next turn, attacking with this 5 up to the 1, fortifying this 4 into that 5, and boom, you're looking good for Europe. Roll ourselves down again somewhere. Okay. So I believe this is going to be a game where I get taken out, hopefully first. Hopefully I leave this game 6th place, because we have seen games where I have gotten maybe even as high as 3rd, but definitely 4th, and many times 5th. And that's not what we want to see. We don't want to see the person who makes no. Oh, and the purple player, bot here, adding on, logging things up. So we don't want to see the person who makes no effective moves get a higher place than a player who is attempting to play well. So we might need to see this 9 fortify out of here. Orange, get out of Australia, because you're split between 2 continents and the blue player has a stronger claim for Australia right now. So I would have liked the green player to fortify up but maybe taking their time. They're going to do that eventually. One thing I have noticed, we'll see what the red player chooses to do here. One thing I have noticed in time is that the entry level, the people who are just coming into the game, are actually coming in the game with more knowledge than the people who were coming into the game when I first started playing. And I think that has a lot to do with individuals coming to the game through content creators and seeing how the game can be played and seeing what the competitive scene looks like, what better players look like, and I'm really enjoying seeing that evolution of the game. Roll ourselves down again. So right now we're in the early game. The early game, I would say, has the characteristics of working towards the initial first round of trades into the second round of trades. Depends on the game mode you're playing and the card bonuses you're playing. But right now we are in the early game, and actually the blue player just smacks the orange player, gets a good roll, and looks like the orange player did not leave soon enough, and the blue player will be securing Australia. So fortunately, the roll went well for the blue player. Let's see what they ended up rolling. So an 11 on 7 and lost 4. That is great. They are going to be securely holding Australia now. That was a risk, but now that risk has put them in a situation where they are going to be able to get stronger faster than the other players who are not securing their own bonus. So we'll see what happens. Looking very favorable for the blue player. The white player probably needs to move in and take Europe very quickly, because Europe is harder to hold, especially at this level. It is a more vulnerable bonus. Threat stacks usually aren't communicated well to individuals who just don't know what a threat stack is. If you don't know what a threat stack is, it's keeping a stack usually locked up. And the threat is, if you open up my stack to the world, you hit one of my territories that lets my big stack out. So hit my mouse here. So you can imagine if I put a stack right here and I held the territories all around it that directly touch it, this stack can't attack anywhere. But if someone breaks open and creates a path for that stack to come out, that's a threat stack. So that often does not work at this level. What you really have to do is you just have to put medium, in Europe you have to put medium guards down that make it more painful to break open Europe. Right now I think we should be seeing the white player, especially if they have a trade on 3 this next go around, we should see the white player take Europe. We could see if they have a trade, pretty easy, it's going to be hard to mess up. Otherwise, they don't have a trade. What they can do is they can attack the 5 over 1, this 5 down, the 7 over 1, and then over again, the 4 over, and split. And if you're just listening to the audio, all you heard was over, 1, downs, and splits. But if you're watching the video, you should be able to see my mouse move around, which is good. The orange player still sort of floating around, not being able to establish themselves very well. Very spread out, and unfortunately so. The red player, I believe they are still gone from the game. So thinking about this, we know what the white player needs to do. The white player needs to secure... Was the red player here? The red player seems to be here, maybe having slow internet connection issues, something like that, or just not making the decision very quickly. I thought they had botted out for a second. So we know what the white player needs to do. They need to secure Europe. We know what the blue player needs to do. They need to grow and press their advantage from holding Australia. So what can the orange player do? So the orange player has this neutral AI just stacking in Africa and just stacking in North America. And they really don't have a good claim to South America. You can see how many troops the red player has. So if you're the orange player, you may choose to do a few things. You may choose to have a floating stack. So basically, you gather all your troops together and you just wander around. You don't hold any bonus and you don't try to get any direct conflicts. And you look for openings that are coming from conflicts between two other individuals. Okay, so that's an option if you're an orange player, the orange player in this situation. You can always look to slowly work towards taking Africa. It's going to hurt to do, going to cost a lot of troops. There's no guarantee that you'll secure it unless you have a big trade right now, which this may be the time the orange player goes for it. Actually securing their bonus even before the white player, although trading in before the white player. Let's see if they do commit the troops to taking Africa. I think this is a risk they could take and it could work out for them. They definitely need to at least hit the pink bot there in Africa to stop that stacking from happening. See what happens here. Taking a while to split, not being as decisive as they should be. So do they choose? They do choose to attack the 6. They get an okay roll, a normal roll. They are going to be able to split off enough to make it a 100% roll on that 3. So they could secure Africa right now. So unfortunately, they are not able to get off the next attack in time. So the next turn, they should be able to secure Africa. Orange player in a much better position than they were before. They definitely needed that decisiveness. They needed to invest some troops into securing a claim over an area, and they have done so. The red player still dealing with either connection issues or not taking their turn fast enough. We'll see what happens. I think the red player is also in a decent position. Just having that big stack there, that 18, that can just keep getting bigger, and it's going to be hurt to hit. It's going to hurt to hit if anyone chooses to hit it. So the red player not in a horrible position at all, and actually trading in now. They have the most troops on the board. And unfortunately for the orange player, the red player does choose to put their troops in. Oh my gosh, so the red player going into the orange player, hurting the orange player a lot. This is going to be hard for the orange player to recover. I did say that if they made that investment, it was a risk. The orange player, if they made that investment into trying to take Africa, it would be a risk. And it was, and the red player chose to go into them, which is unfortunate. Now, how can the orange player bounce back? I think they need to either look towards, they clearly need to stay out of the red player's way. The red player is not understanding diplomacy. The red player is not understanding this idea of grow strong together. And the white player also probably needs to be worried about the red player hitting them. So maybe that won't happen. Maybe that will. Maybe there's some alliance chat going on in the background that we cannot see. But if you're the orange player right now, I think maybe what you do is maybe you start looking to, so you get your troops out of Africa. I think number one, you need to get out of the way of the red player. Don't open up Brazil. So this 12 cannot attack backwards. So I think attack up, fortify out, and then eventually start looking towards taking South America. If the red player over one turn, over the next 2 turns, so one turn will be fortifying out, the second turn will be attacking down 1. It's going to give the red player 2 turns to indicate what they want to do. So we'll see what happens here. Once the red player, so the orange player should stop right here. Good job. Great decision making from the orange player. And they're even going to fortify a little bit. I think I would have liked to see this pin existing right here instead of existing right here. I think that's it takes up a little less space on the board, and it kind of shows the red player that I'm getting out of here, I think, more so than stacking right here, even if it's essentially the same thing. Red player combining their troops together, making a big stack now. They have 24, the largest stack on the board. The white player still consolidating all of their troops. They should very much be enjoying that. They have this natural guard here from the neutral AI. And if the white player wants to, they can choose to slowly take North America, excluding those territories currently held by the AI, which would hopefully get them over. We can actually calculate it out. So right now they have 14 territories, but let's imagine they lose these two, so they have 12. Okay, and they're able to secure 2 more territories over here, which puts them back at 14. And then they start stacking here and along their border here, and they start trading cards. Hopefully, trading cards allows them to hold 15 territories each cycle, each turn cycle, and they're able to secure 2 bonus troops, which would put them at 7 bonus troops, the 5 from holding Europe and the 2 from holding 15 territories per turn, which would put them well above anybody else, especially considering nobody else is going to hold North America because the troop investment against that neutral AI is just going to be so high. So the white player in a very, very good position. Needs to worry about the red player, though, because we know the red player will... Oh, no, looks like the orange player actually chose to fortify down and not get out of Africa. We'll see what the red player thinks about that. We know they are willing to invest troops into hitting others. So the red player just taking another card here, leaving an odd split. I think if I was the red player here, this 21 could have moved right here, given the 11 a chance to take South America, move into South America, and then you could secure your Africa. And through the power of teamwork, you're in a much better position than you were before. Right now, the blue player, they are completely open to the white player, so they could choose to break the white player if they wanted to. It'd be a large troop investment, but with the right trade-in, which this is a 10 trade-in right now, so they could break the white player, putting themselves in a good position right now, putting themselves in a situation where they're the only ones holding a bonus and they can continue applying pressure to the white player if they want to. What are they going to do? They're not going to do that. Instead, they're going to knock the white player under 15 territories, but this is not a good long-term solution. Long-term right now, which is I like to look at the game in early, mid, and late games in short, mid, and long-term outcomes. So what I do is I imagine if the state of the game, for the outcomes, I imagine what happens if the state of the game continues to exist the way it is. And we look at that in the short, mid, and long term. So right now, in the short term, the purple player has a chance to strike the white player, and that is slowly, that chance is slowly going to shrink. Did I say purple player? The blue player. Maybe I did say blue player, but the blue player has a chance to strike the white player. But if the current state of affairs continues, that is going to become a smaller and smaller chance of that play being successful. So right now it is on the blue player to stop the white player from growing and to put themselves in a position where they are, as the game continues in the current in the state of affairs that it is in, that the blue player creates, in the advantage in the driver's seat. As is the white player in a great position. I think if the red player and the orange player could work out their issues, we would see the game start to stabilize. People start to figure out who we're going to work together to remove. But as is, it almost feels like the blue players wanting to grow strong separate from the rest of the board, which is not a good idea right now because they're not in the best position considering the current state of the game. And it also feels like we'll see what the orange player chooses to do here. They might remember what the red player did to them. They just choose to lock their stack back in. So the blue player, how they're playing right now, they are not in the driver's seat. And if nothing changes, I mean, they secure second place. That's great, but not first place. And if that's you want to approach the game, you're welcome to do that. But I think it's unfortunate when they could be jockeying for first place much more actively and they're not choosing to do that. So the red player here has an opportunity to take South America. This is a great position to be in because you can imagine the orange player stack is locked right now. And actually it's open. It's open right now. But what could have happened was the red player takes South America, stacks on this 23 while the orange stack is locked, and they're going to secure a bonus, putting themselves at a greater amount of troop income over the orange player. But instead they've just opened the orange player. White player having a large trade now. What I think I'd like to see them do is add right here, take out this 2, and slowly work towards expanding out this way while maintaining these borders. Because at this level, you do want to make your border just very painful to hit. Blue player having a big trade on 3. This is their chance. They're going to have to wait several more turns for the potential of another trade if it's even a large trade. This might be where if the blue player doesn't make a move, that difference between the blue player and the white player and the amount of troops they have becomes, in a 1v1 situation, hardly able to be overcome. Very unlikely that the blue player will be able to overcome, because right now the red player has shown no indication that they intend to hit the white player. Orange player still in a tough situation, really being held down. Really, the red player and the orange player are holding each other down. I think it's very interesting. So we are now very solidly in the mid game. Feels odd to say we're in the mid game. There's still 5 people very much alive. But as we are solidly in the mid game, people need this is at this level where people start thinking about, do I even want to continue playing this game? There's not a lot of action. So there's very real possibility we're going to see individuals bot out, which I hope does not happen, because this is such a great example of a lower level game where people don't really know how to progress the game. They don't know what the next steps are. The white player understands that if they just keep doing what they're doing, there's a good chance they get first or second. The blue player understands that if they just keep doing what they're doing, hopefully, something will blow up on the other end of the board. Maybe the red player and the white player start attacking each other. But for the blue player, in a situation where they just sit and do nothing, there's a good chance they get a higher placement. It is what's going to happen, I think, is we might end up, if nothing changes, we will start to transition into the late game where we have such a large amount of troops for the white player and a large amount of troops for the blue player that removing the orange player and the red player won't even be that big of a deal. It won't hurt that much. So the orange player and the red player, if they want to stay viable in this game, really need to work this out. The orange player having another big trade. Must be so scary for the white player to have the red player right on their border with a stack that could break it at any moment. And if they did that, it would put the orange player around the same amount of troops as the blue player. Now, it would likely put the red player in a position to be removed by the orange player. But, now what did I say? So I think the white player, so imagine the red player hits the white player. It would put the white player now in a position where they are close to the amount of troops on the blue player, which may have been what I just said, but let's make sure I said what I wanted to say. And then the red player would be in danger of removal, and the orange player would be in a great position to come back in the game. So whose job is it right now to progress the game? That is an interesting question. So as is, when we think of like the entire game as a story from start to finish, the white player is in a position to move the game towards that finish much easier than any of the other players because they have troops they can lose, right? They have 106 troops. The next closest is 79. They're about to have a trade on 5. They have the largest bonus. They have the most territories. They're in a great position. When we think about like the game in smaller sections, to progress the game or at least move the game towards its end in smaller increments, we could see the red player and orange player working together. We could see a player botting out. We could see a player going into another player, even if it jeopardizes their own game. So the red player actually having a trade. Is this the time that they choose to take South America? They could have had South America several turns ago, although that 43 is open to the world. That orange 43 could retaliate, ending the game for both players. Not talking a lot because there's not a lot happening. Kind of analyzed it out. Kind of seen the state of the game and how everything will continue. What the game will look like if nothing changes. So what we can do is be quiet until something happens. Okay, we have seen some movement in the game. It's been very subtle. Hope everyone enjoyed that. A bit of time for speed so we can get to where some action is going on, but we still have seen movement, even if we haven't seen big in your face action. So right now, the red player has a trade, could choose to take South America right now. The red player has been slowly using up their troops here, and I think this is a good time, this is a good opportunity. This is why I broke in right now to say this is the red player's opportunity to take South America, get troop income on par with the blue player. Do they choose to do so? This would be a great idea, and looks like they do. So we did see movement in the game. It was very slow, it was very subtle, but we saw it, and we were able to catch it right before it happened. Great opportunity, great opportunity secured by the red player. Now the orange player, they may be upset by that, and they may choose. So they don't need to block right here. They don't need to block Venezuela and against South America. Blue maybe saying oof, not realizing that this is a neutral AI. It's not coming through. So we'll see if the red player or the orange player has anything to say about that. This is pretty much the orange player's only time to do something that will punish the red player, but likely end both of their games. I don't suggest the orange player, if they're still wanting to secure first, do that, but it is an option for them. This is their chance where their capacity to punish will be at its greatest compared to how it will be in the future if the current state of the game continues. So what else have we seen during this time? So we have seen the neutral AI of the pink bot continue to stack up. We have seen the blue player get a 94 stack. That would be very painful if it decided to go out on the board and make some movements. It's very scary. It's not trapped itself. And something else, the white player has actually locked themselves off from being able to strike the blue player right now. So they cannot get through themselves, so they cannot access that 94 right now. But the white player has pretty regularly throughout the turns held 15 territories. So they've been getting that extra bonus troop as time has gone on. And the orange player chooses to not make any movements right now. So very rough situation for them to be in. And they may not be the catalyst towards progressing the game that they could have been. If anything, they could get out of Africa, go through Asia, which would open the white player to the blue player, and they could start just taking cards in this area. Don't threaten the white player. Don't do that. But just start taking cards in this area, building up, and potentially just work towards securing North America. It would hurt you a lot. It probably wouldn't be worth the troops to do it, but maybe it would get people, feeling a bit aggressive, feeling like they can do something. Hey, this guy who's in the worst position of everybody is trying to advance the game. So maybe I can too. White, the blue player perhaps saying oof because the red player is continuing to stack against the neutral AI. So probably seems silly, right? And it probably is a little silly, but there have been times where a neutral AI has been a stack in between me and another person, and I was able to surprise them by going through that neutral AI, expending those troops they didn't think I would expend, so I could strike them. So, it's not necessary. May not be the best way to utilize your troops when you're in a very, very precarious situation with the orange player, but it's also not a horrible move. Maybe not worth several oofs from the blue player, although I do understand where they're coming from. Another advantage to the orange player choosing to move to North America will allow the red player to secure Africa, which will allow the red player to come back into the game, put someone on par with troop income with the white player, and it would put a lot more pressure on the white player to either attack the red player and use that huge amount of troops they've gained, huge amount of advantage they have over everybody else, or they can choose to work together, the red player and the white player, on the blue player. And the coordination probably just doesn't exist for that, and it definitely doesn't exist to have the blue player and the white player and the red player, if the orange player were to move out into North America, to slowly start working on the orange player. That's just very unlikely. So I think the best play for the orange player right now is to move into North America. So while we're here, while we're looking at this game, I'm just going to open up a calculator. I'm going to try and calculate. So what we know is the balance of the game. Oh, actually the blue player, I was going to have to calculate, would the white player ever be able to break the balance of the game against the other players? But looks like we don't need to calculate that out because the blue player has chosen to make some moves here, which probably could have done a long time ago. Would have been in a better position to do so when the white player was much earlier in securing their bonus, and the blue player has had theirs for a bit. I'm not sure if we're going to see any other movement. I think what's likely going to happen is we're just going to see the white player retake their bonus, and nothing else is going to change about the state of the game. We can see that the blue player is getting frustrated with the situation. Okay, let's figure it up. How much per turn is the red player getting? They're getting 5 total. 5 per turn. How much is the blue player getting per turn? 5. Cool. How much is the orange player getting? Well, we know they don't have any bonuses, so they're getting 3. So 13 per turn, not including income from taking cards or potentially holding more territory. Oh, no, actually, we are seeing some movement here. We are seeing 2 individuals working together. I don't think it's going to be enough if the white player chooses to be decisive right now. So you see that little angry face from the blue player. So I think it is likely that the blue player and the red player had kind of made an agreement in the alliances. Hey, I'll attack white if you attack white. So the blue player attacked white. The orange player, or the red player, did attack white, but not to the same degree of commitment that the blue player did, which has probably upset the blue player. So before that happened, before this attacks happened, how many troops? So the white player was starting with 14 troops per turn, maybe 1 less troop if they're ever under 15 territories. So 13 troops for the combined other 3 players, and 13 or 14 troops for the white player. The white player potentially could have broken the balance of the game if the state of affairs had just continued. The balance of the game is broken when one player holds more troops than all other, we'll say, active players on the board at a time. So we're not including the neutral AI in that calculation. But I suppose if you were to extend this out to the extreme long game, 4 players were attempting to work together, the blue player and the red player, then we would have seen the white player break the balance of the game, although I think it was very unlikely. Not a lot of people have that patience. There's a math equation to figure out if you have 13 and the other player has 14, or the other, if one group has 13 troops of income, the other group has 14 troops of income, how long, and then we have to consider the initial amount of troops they already have. How long will that overtake? So I'm not going to try and say what I think that equation would be, because I could be very wrong. But I do know it would be a very, very long time before the balance of the game would have been broken if the state of affairs hadn't changed. Although, considering that the white player could have taken attacker's advantage on other players, maybe it could have changed a bit sooner than that. But the blue player, frustrated with the red player, let's see what they choose to do. Are they going to attack the red player? Are they going to attack the white player? Oh my gosh, they commit a lot of troops into the white player, making themselves extremely vulnerable, making themselves the weakest person on the board right now. Does the red player follow up with the blue player? Because it looked as if they were working together. And do we see this game progress? The orange player at 85 troops. Do they hit the red player? They do not. Do they make their 83 active on a board in a way that doesn't have to go through red? They do. So now the orange player is active on the board. Looks like they are ready to start participating in this game, hopefully. So what we often see at this level is players who attempt to change the current state of affairs, even if it benefits everybody, makes the game closer to ending. People will pile on and take that vulnerability and punish you for trying to advance the game. And so right now, the orange player could be saying to themselves, oh, look, the blue player is extremely vulnerable. I have a chance to take Australia and put myself in a better position. But if the blue player hadn't been taking risks and trying to advance the game, then nobody would be in this position and the orange player would just be sitting in Africa doing nothing. So the red player really needs to commit some amount of troops right now, and they are not, which if, oh, wow, so they're choosing to stay in Europe. What does the white player do? This is a tough situation. You need some excellent decision-making skills from the white player to do anything right now, and it work out well. Looks like the white player upset at the blue player is going to be hitting them, making them very easily eliminated from the game. So I think the blue player maybe here in this situation, while they had the right idea, which was using teamwork to advance the game, especially in the mid game and moving into the late game, which we are into the late game or about to move into it right now. What should have happened, I think, was the blue player needed to commit a little less. So often when two individuals are starting to team up against one, that individual will choose to go into just one of those two individuals and make their chances of winning the game very low. And that is what just happened. What's the chances of the blue player winning the game? 0. So a very tough situation. Actually, the orange player and the red player taking the lead right now. And if I'm the orange player, I think I secure Africa, I secure South America, and I give the red player a chance to secure Europe. The white player had their time. They had their time in the sun, and they had their spotlight. They chose not to make a move when they had that huge advantage, and they played reactively instead. And I think a huge mistake right now from the orange player if they do not secure at least one bonus, and they don't. But the white player needed to take action. They did not need to play reactively. They had such a lead. Unfortunately, the blue player was punished for attempting to advance the game, but that is a risk you have to take. It's a very real possibility, and huge respect to the blue player for taking a risk in this game. Who would think? So, what does the red player choose to do here? Let's see. The game has certainly progressed. Perhaps we could account it towards the blue player being impatient, or maybe we can account it towards the blue player wanting to progress the game. Either way you want to put it, the game has progressed, and we are now in a different state than we were a second ago. The white player now actually choosing to be aggressive. I really like what they're doing. They do not have that large 99 stack with all their troops put together. But what they do have is decisiveness. And actually what they have right now is they have troop income. And so taking South America, breaking South America that was held by the red player now puts the white player in a better situation as far as troop income goes. You can see they hold 29 territories. That is such a huge amount of territories. They're getting so much income just from that we are now in a position where if we move into, once again, this long-term way of looking at the game, the white player will win. What does the orange player choose to do? Like the orange player, once again, will not be making waves, will not be acting decisively. It will just be moving once, taking a card. Does the red player respond? The white player. Will they do so by taking Australia? a large troop investment, which will give the red player an easy bonus to hold. Oh, they actually just break. So, interesting choice by the red player. They could have secured that very easily with little risk of retaliation. Looks like they're lining up to now break South America. You can see how much troop income. Even though they only held one bonus, you can see they got 9 troops because they had 9 troops total, right? But they had 23 territories. So they had several bonus troops from holding so many territories, eclipsing the amount they got from holding a bonus. Actually, I don't think this 15 was always up here, so perhaps the white player just did that, maybe wanting to just knock orange out of here. If the orange player just sits there on that territory right now, is it going to protect the white player? They do not. So now the red player is going to be open to hitting South America. Looks like, once again, players very hesitant to put troops into other individuals. The red player taking a 1, hitting a 1, and getting their card and moving on. Very interesting tendencies of these players. I think what we should see here now is the white player continue to grow, the white player to start consolidating their stacks so they have at least one stack. It can be very threatening and roaming around the board. I think I should take a drink of my water now. We have been here for some time. So the orange player finally securing a continent. Though I don't think it was because they wanted to. I think it was because they just didn't want to hit anybody else. The red player now moving out of everybody's way. Maybe lining up to take North America. You can see the red player does not have access to Australia anymore. Does not have access to South America. Now they do. Because the white player opened up the red player to be able to strike South America now, but the white player pushing their luck, saying if nobody wants to hit any stacks, I suppose I'm just going to take another continent, and it would be wild. The other players allowed this. Hold. Let's see what happens. The white player really pressuring all the other players to be decisive and to commit troops, stopping the white player from growing stronger. Will the red or the orange player break Europe? The orange player will not. Ooh, very frustrating. Very frustrating. Doesn't feel like the orange player is playing for first. And if they are, they're playing for first, hoping that the rest of the players just destroy each other. The red player moving into North America, perhaps going to break Europe from the back. And they will, maybe not realizing that, yes, you've stopped this bonus from happening. Okay, let's see if we see some troops committed. Ah, just hitting 1 stacks. Oh boy, so... Oh my gosh, right in the face of the red player here, or of the white player. The red player has put their 104 stack right there saying, here I come. I'm the white player. You have to write those troops off. Maybe you could fortify back and just hope the red player breaks it and doesn't take out your 25, but at least resecure Europe. Resecure Europe, try to hold South America, and work on trapping the red player in North America, or in Australia if you can. I'd like to see that happen. Maybe we'll see some teamwork between the orange player and the white player to the advantage of both of them, but especially the white player because they will have much more troop income than the orange player. I think this was a decent play. So if the orange player had attacked India, it would give this 104 a chance to move backwards. It could actually break Australia and break Europe. So maybe the orange player should have opened that. Maybe not. But if we want to see some teamwork between the orange player and the white player, then probably not. See what the red player chooses to do here. They made a threat. Are they going to follow up on it? Looks like we have seen the red player. No, the red player is still here. Is not going to follow up on their threat. Very interesting at this point, protecting the white player. Very good move. That was what I was going to suggest from the white player, but at this point I've talked so much out about what players should do, what they could do, that now we're just looking to see what they choose to do. What I think I'm going to choose to do again is let's move into that ×4 speed until we see more movement in the game. Could be very soon. Okay, so we are seeing some movement in the game. The red player finally committing some troops to someone, somewhere. That's not just 1 stacks. Maybe realizing the orange player was not intending to hit the white player. The orange player now in the position the blue player is in. The orange player and the white player could work together now to trap the red player and work towards ending this game. Red player is suggesting to the world that I'm about to do something crazy. It's good game, good luck. Uses little devil emoji, which usually is a suggestion that I am about to full send you. Maybe the red player now is going to be opened up by the orange player, and no, so at least that is not going to happen this time around. Sorry, red player, you are not open to the world. You're going to have to fortify your 91 away. You're going to want to be able to utilize it because nobody is opening you up, and fortifying away is going to make you vulnerable, which we know you don't like to do. So perhaps a bluff called by the red player. Well, a bluff called by the white and orange player on the red player. That 91 is not fortified out, so right now we are not going to see any movement from the red player towards ending this game. Perhaps we are going to see the orange player and white player work together, which makes you think, you got to think about this. Remember in the early and mid game when the orange player and the red player couldn't figure it out, they couldn't figure out how to each secure their own bonus and work together to get strong. Look how the white player and the orange player have figured it out. They're not breaking each other. They're not necessarily trusting each other, but they're getting strong together faster than the red player is getting strong. So very good position to be in if you are the white player. Decent position to be in if you're the red player, and a scary, or decent position to be in if you're the orange player, and a scary position to be in if you're the red player. So the white player now can focus on, they can move this 12 out to here, right? They can keep stacking on their 60, make this a very scary stack, and they're going to hold 18 territories. Look at that. Look at that. They hold 18, so they get another bonus troop for holding another amount of territories in the amount of 3, in the, you know, in the multiples of 3. So right now, white player in a great position. We have seen decisiveness from them. We've seen movement from them. We have seen aggression of holding bonuses, realizing bonuses are a big deal, understanding friendship, understanding getting strong together. So what I would like to see, and it doesn't seem like we will see, is the orange put their 130 right here and then trade cards right here with the white player. But we're not seeing that. That's okay. We're not seeing. So another option, if you're the orange player and you think the red player would choose to go into the white player over going into you, which I think the red player would choose to do, because when you're in a situation where you want to attack others and you want to, you know, full send yourself into someone, it's 99 wouldn't want to go into 142. That's not fun. That's not exciting for you. It doesn't feel like, oh, I got that rage out because I did that thing, because that hands the game over to the white player who you've had the most issues with. So if the orange player were to open up the red player, it would likely go into the white player and give the orange player the game. Does the 99 come out? It still does not come out. Another option, if you're the red player, you can break Africa. So if you break Africa right now, what that does is it forces the orange player to either come out in the Middle East, which would be bad for you, or split their stacks right here, making them less scary. Still scary, but a little less, because they don't have one giant stack. So there are options for players here to advance the game. I think the white player is doing the right thing, which is just getting stronger faster than everybody else. And I think there are options for the red player and the orange player towards getting this game to end sooner, to advance it. Looks like we are seeing some movement in the game. The red player has chosen to now move out at 121. They are now open to the white player and the orange player. Looks like they might be following up on that threat they realize. So interestingly, like I said, it would leave Australia vulnerable It looks like the white player is going to break Australia. Perhaps they're going to, oh, so they're not going to break Australia. Interesting. They're just going to make themselves their own big stack, which the red player would likely win that roll, and it would likely give that game to the orange player. So let's see what the white player chooses to do. Another thing that, or the red player chooses to do, another thing the red player could do is they can just break every bonus on this board and then see how people respond. And hopefully the orange player does not trap their stack. They need to leave themselves right here. Oh my gosh. So the orange player does commit to the red player. Maybe this is what you get when you can't figure out teamwork. Either way, looks like this game will be going to the white player. And as far as rank points go, red player in third, orange player in second, white player in first. As far as the placement of the game goes, this neutral bot is going to end up getting at least third place. So let's see if the, oh no, so the orange player does not have the speed to end the red player's game. What does the red player choose to do? How does the white player choose to handle this? Because we're in a situation right now where unless the white player has the mechanics to do it, has the game sense to do it, they would actually eliminate the orange player before they eliminated the red player. Let's hope that doesn't happen. So if you are the white player right now, what you can do is you can wipe the entire board and stack right here on Siam. If you do that, you allow the orange player to get the elimination, which, you know, hey, that feels good to be able to do. And then you can go ahead and move into ending the game. Securing your first place, making sure orange secures their second place. So actually the white player with a little less tact is going to choose to just slam through that stack of the orange player, but it does essentially make sure that they win the game. The game is going to go to them, and or the white player takes the game, they're going to take out the red player. Okay, now what do? You definitely need to break Africa. The orange players essentially said, I understand the game is going to you, it's yours, have fun, take it all the way home. And that is what the white player is going to do. So it looks like coordination. So interestingly enough, it was coordination that gave the game to the white player. It wasn't the fact that they held so many bonuses so consistently, right? They once they started securing bonuses, they kept them. Now what I mean by that is they didn't keep that individual bonus. We saw that they lost some as time went on. They lost Australia when they had it. They lost Asia when they had it. Not Asia, sorry, Europe. But what did happen was, even though they were getting strong on their own, they couldn't win the game on their own. They didn't understand that. So what did get them the game, did get them first place, was teamwork. It was coordination. So good job to the white player. If you're a nice guy, you go ahead and eliminate the neutral AI first, right? And it looks like the white player is going to be a nice guy. I really enjoy seeing that. They could have also given the red elimination to the orange player. They chose not to do that. And actually, no, they are not as nice as maybe we thought they were, but they're not, it's not a mean guy. It doesn't affect the rank points any differently. The orange player taking second as far as ranked points go, third as far as their existence within this game goes. So now we're going to see the white player clean up the pink player. We're going to get to see what everybody's ranks are, which is going to be very interesting. We know they're somewhere in between novice and intermediate. So if you are a lower ranked player and this is what your games look like, then hopefully a lot of lower ranked games look like this, and some high ranked games, hopefully from this video you're able to say, oh, there's some other things I now have in my toolbox that I can use when I'm in a game, when it starts to stalemate, and we can work towards ending the game and getting a better placement. So the game is now going to be going to the white player removing the neutral AI at the very end. And we're going to see these results now. Congratulations to the white player. Looks like we had intermediate, beginner, novice, and beginner. Excellent spread. Good for the blue player thinking back to however long ago, attempting to advance the game. And I wish all these other players well in the future games they play. And remember, you don't have to be number one to have fun.